Somebody said one time that what the public doesn't know doesn't worry me near as much as what they do know that's not true. Everybody knows the hot coffee case, most famous case in the world. How did it get to be the most famous case in the world? They know she was drinking and driving. They knew she spilled a little coffee on herself and got several million dollar verdict. You tell them, oh, she wasn't driving, she was a passenger, the car was stopped, it was scalding coffee, 180 degrees, she had third-degree burns, had to have skin grafts, was disabled in the hospital 8 days, disabled almost 2 years. She later settled, the trial court judge, a Republican judge, and of course Stella Liebeck herself was a Republican, wouldn't bring a lawsuit, that her verdict was reduced to $480,000, 3 times compensatory damages. I didn't know that. And she settled for less than that. And she had to sign a confidentiality agreement. And the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and its hundreds of multinational corporations then did the media spin on it and turned that case into a winner for the defendant, for corporate America. That case gave birth to the notion of court abuse, tort abuse. It wasn't Stella Liebeck that was abusing the system. The abuse is on the other side. And so the spin that was put on it with the expenditure of hundreds of millions of dollars turned that case into a weapon that has eroded the civil justice system in America. In the last 10 years, the appellate courts of Alabama has reversed 72% of all these cases, civil jury cases that have gone to the Supreme Court of Alabama with a written opinion. They've reversed almost 3 out of 4. Now, I believe that the overwhelming majority of the circuit judges who sit in the 67 county courthouses in Alabama are fine people. They're educated, and they work hard, and they want to do the right thing. And they live with these cases from the time the motion to dismiss is filed until the motion for new trial is overruled. They hear all of the evidence, and the jury decides the case. And they rule in favor of the innocent, injured victim and assess a civil fine against the wrongdoing defendant who's guilty of misconduct. And it goes to the Supreme Court of Alabama. The Supreme Court of Alabama throws almost 3/4 of them out. Now think about that. There's something wrong with the judicial system, either at the county courthouse level or at the appellate court level, when 3/4 of the work product is thrown in the trash can.
There had already been put into people's heads the notion that lawsuit abuse was widespread. And the idea of spilling coffee on yourself and getting $2 million, regardless of what the basic facts are, offended most folks. We've all spilled coffee on ourselves, and we've never held the coffee pot responsible, nor the person who sold us the coffee responsible. And how does this woman get away with getting that kind of money? And I must admit, in the back of my head, that was a truth that I had adopted. What got to me was the horrifying pictures of the damage that the coffee had shown. And I'm publicly embarrassed to admit that I had bought into the fact that this was a kind of a frivolous damn thing, and McDonald's was right to try and get rid of it as quickly as they could. The issue here is how we allow in our heads the media to frame the things that we pay attention to. By calling it lawsuit abuse instead of calling it citizens' rights to sue, you change the entire perception that you have about what's taking place. We talk in class about framing an issue. What label you put on it determines to a large extent how we're going to respond to it. And this is a perfect example of the powers of the people who did the persuasion on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and other vested interests to get us to look at it from their perspective. It's an abuse. not something that we ought to have the right to be able to exercise.
I didn't make this movie to change your minds. I made this movie to open people's minds, that there is another point of view. And if you go try cases, you would never ask a jury to render a verdict only hearing one side of the case. You'd say, listen to both sides and then come up with an intelligent decision. And that's all I ask all my audiences. The reason why this film, I think, has done so well is because even though I tell one side of the story, clearly, it's my truth. And people sometimes say to me, well, isn't it just one-sided? I'm like, well, everybody knows the other side. You know, they don't know this side. And I said, if we're going to have a meaningful discussion about that, and if you're going to have an opinion, at least know both sides, and let's have a debate.
The saying is that if it's to be, it's up to me. Somebody has got to represent the innocent injured victim and the disabled citizen and cause us to get our civil justice system back. I will, if you will.